ساعات 4 فرقاني إلى هذا حداري إلى هذا جبيرهم إلى خفت على 3 وهذا هاي عبيت إلا من سيتويون بقيت لما شلنا أتون هذا مول بقيتي
تابع 14 عام على زقنه تبعتاي مالتيو قتل زبل ممرحي خمزلو تابع عندهم سمعين خالي يكون
تقرأ وجهك وعيا تقرينا أما تقريني تقق بقى
بدل سيتيتي وقالوا يا عبيتي بيتي ملا جنب تك 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 تك
موت دمع صوت على تقرأ وايد شك على تقرأ وايد حرحان تموت
لو تسع عن قلت إدمي حرت على لا توقع يلن توقع ترفري يلن حنانا ترفيرنا حنانا تجيبنا
سسانا وسيدو قال جزانا ونوديو أتيوم خفالي عدي يوم مسيم وديو شفكيرهم يا مارابيتنا
قليهم بخرا قليهم بقجمو قليهم بورات
زقات الحايد من يوم نايم حرف لي حايدي فانو من الشام زي ما مسارع زلو بمسارع قتل مسارع زي ولد ما ب فتزحز مسارع يبل مالك
نفتش عن هلنا نفتح على حدا على حدا بسودقنا سودت خطة أنا ويت هاي لهم ينقدي فمي بقى كابل اسي جميرك شاو تحتي رسائل تقال رسائل
أتعجب يومي أنا تغيرنا لكن من قش كويس أنا لا بتريش
قدمي حدا عمد واحد إحدى كتش العس
سلام على ملوز لهم كورات حوات تجارو كمون تجراي تهورو حوات نايلهم عن تمشات مس تجارلا من عرّي كمون تبركات كيرس روع مشات نوركم مجمرتها بإنجليزية حناتينا كابو نا إنجليزية برنامج متجرشنا نا تجرينا حن ملسكمينا زين نوركو من عرّي and Advocacy, welcome as usual. So tonight we'll have the clip that I was showing was the Mai Kadra genocide. Obviously, we know the Ethiopian Human Rights Watch tried to paint it as somehow it was the other way around, but we know the facts on the ground. Today, I read on Reuters 70 drivers were arrested. The continuous mass arrest and killings of civilians in Addis Ababa based on ethnic Tigrayans continues. But the US and the rest of the Western countries talk about concerns. It's been over 12 months that we heard that the US, Europe has been concerned, while Russia and China and Turkey, Iran, and multiple Arab countries continue to support the dictator in Addis Ababa or indirectly try to provide survival for Abiy Ahmed of Ethiopia. While the Oromo Liberation Army is within 25 miles or 40 kilometers from Finfine or Addis Ababa, while TDF is roughly about 150 miles north of Finfine or Addis Ababa. With that, some Tigrayans in the diaspora are confused, often frustrated why TDF isn't moving fast enough to Addis Ababa. I have to respond earlier to a few people saying that this is not a soccer game. Fighting is not easy. In fact, if we look back what happened the first 4 to 6 months of the Tigray genocide, there was not a full military in Tigray to defend the territory of Tigray at the time, which is why Eritreans looted every infrastructure in Tigray. Over 80% of the hospitals in Tigray were looted by Eritrean mercenaries, and anything that they were not able to steal, they made sure that it was destroyed. They used donkey, camels, tanks, anything to load whatever they can. We know this is the worst genocide, the lowest denominator theft by Hegdef, by the Eritrean mercenaries in Tigray. And often when we use the word Eritreans, civilians of Eritrean origin were not in Tigray looting. It was those who are armed forces of the Eritrean military that reports to Isaias Afwerki. Whether they were there by force or by choice, we can further discuss. With that, I want to congratulate to Tigray Television and TMH. Finally, they just started English program. Hey, TMH, it only took you like a year, but welcome. I'm glad to join. You join what Cyber's been doing. I've been doing it for about a year now, so it's good that other Tigrayans who are now starting to do English broadcasting. We need it because we need more English broadcasting. We need to educate those who do not understand Tigrinya, who do not understand the politics and the dynamic of the atrocities in Tigray, the genocide in Tigray, the geopolitics in the former state of Ethiopia. Ata Barkat, I'm going to start with you because Ibn Ari never showed up to Washington, D.C., and he tried to give us some justification and excuses because he knew both you and I will be there, and he dared not to show up.
I just gave up on American officials, so showing up means nothing. So that's why.
I think it's more like like Ata Barkat and I will be there, and you will not be able to challenge us in person.
Let them know that we gave up on them. So it's a waste of time to go to DC and tell them what's happening in Tigray. They gave us a deep air, and then they keep on saying we're deeply concerned. But I love my people. You guys made it. We remember the 1 year struggle we had. That was really excellent rally. I just followed it.
You still didn't show up. You weren't there. You still didn't show up.
I'm sorry.
That's fine. We can represent him because we have the same concern and voice. So I think we all of us shoulder the same ideas and responsibility regardless where we are. We are always united by our collective ideas and spirit. So he's not away. Probably he's away physically, from us, but mentally he was within us. So
why are you being so nice to him? He didn't show up. You got to be rough on him.
No, this is a hard talk. So I want to
be too gentle. You want to start soft with him, huh?
Yeah, I want to batter him before the onslaught begins. Anyway, really, you opened, the discussion with Mai Kadra. Personally, this is one that really bothers me deep from my heart. Because we haven't done enough job to explain the atrocities that has committed in Mai Kadra in 2 reasons. One, when they did the onslaught, they prevented media. There was no access media. So what they did was they covered all the evidences and cry foul that it happened by Tigrayans, and we are really victimized twice. because, as you know, one of the Tigrayan PP representative on his testimony or written testimony, he said that he wants to visit Mai Kadra, but he was prevented as an official of the PP party because he was told that they want to bury most of the, victims who are slaughtered, killed because who they are, just because they were Tigrayans. So they really have the media to portray this happened by, use Tigrayans lead revolutionary group, something to that nature. And it was too late by the time we try to portray what happens in the Mai Kadra, that the real victims were Tigrayans. Thanks for the survivors who escaped to Sudan to testify what transpired during that time. And thanks to some of the international media outlets to catch and make understand to the world that the real victims were Tigrayans. So it is really, we haven't done a good job in terms of, what happened in Mai Kadra. And always, this is something that really bothersome for many of us, because the Ethiopian Human Rights Commission, which is really a right wing for the government of Ethiopia, has used this opportunity even without investigating and being on ground zero. He take a leaf page from the government press release or media that the victims were, some of them were Amhara, and still some global international agencies, they believe the victims were Tigrayans and Amhara, something to that nature, which is really untrue. So we just need to investigate, and access to international media once it is free from those stooges of Prosperity Party, and also, the Eritreans and the Amhara Fano militia. Still, there should be a full investigation in regard who was those victims, and it should be extended to forensic science and witnesses who are those victims. I know for sure there will be some survivors from their victims, and we have a lot of work to sort out really what happened in Mai Kadra.
But what is the investigation going to do, though? Like, I actually, I met like many of those survivors in Sudan myself, actually, at Barakat, with all due respect. I've got a list of like videos and photos of the victims. That the youngest one is an 11-year-old girl who broke down while I was interviewing her, while I was talking to her in a group at one of the refugee camps in Sudan over the summer. So I guess my question for you again is like, what good does it do to us, like when we talk about investigation?
First of all, with due respect, first of all, the portrait, even by the Ethiopian Human Rights Commission, some of the victims are Amhara, which is not true. The real victims are Tigrayans. And this has to be underscored, that the fact remains, the true victims are Tigrayans.
Sure. No, I get that. But once we verify that's the case, who's going to do what? The world doesn't care about Tigray. We're not getting a response from the world community to do something.
Well, I mean, I understand, but the fact finding, I know there is so much frustration because the West is failing trying to stop the genocide. Throughout the history, tell me one country that has stopped genocide. No. The genocide will take place, and then after the genocide, the Western try to cry that they could have done some kind of a moral ground to prevent it. Nothing to that sort happened in the history of genocide. The genocide, after it has taken place, the Western world will come to cry or to play some sort of moral dilemma as if they were not able to stop. So we have to go back and see the history of genocide. It has never been prevented by Westerners, and that's the fact. And Tigray is not the exception. So the only salvation for us is to use our collective force to stop the genocide. No one is going to help us, as it happened in many parts of the world as well. I mean, go to Rwanda. Who stopped the genocide? The fighters by Paul Kagame, they stopped it. Go everywhere. So don't expect from the Westerns that they will intervene and stop genocide. That's never happened in the history of the world.
Right. No, that's why my point is, again, so why are we keep talking about like the investigation? What's the and also I remember we talked about, I think a few, I mean, without mentioning names, a few people in the early stages that were talking how they were suing the Ethiopian government, the Eritrean government in front of the ICC, so there was like all this confusion, like, discussion that we were having. First of all, you can't really talk about investigation when there's not even access, in Tigray. And then second of all, when there was an early discussion, I disputed it and I publicly stated that those who are saying they are going to sue Abiy Ahmed and Isaias Afwerki, it doesn't work like that in the eyes of the ICC, even if we were to follow the rules of the ICC. So Imnare, the genocide in Mai Kadra, we, the Tigrayans and Tigrayan Americans, know that the victims of all are Tigrayans. And the Tigrinya version that we heard one of the gentlemen saying, they will ask them, are you Amhara or are you Tigrayans? Right. So the moment you say Tigrayans, you take a bullet to your head. Yesterday, Ato Berkat and I was on the show. I showed one clip, a man, several men that were murdered and tossed into the Takaza River. And I'm talking, this is like recently. And I was there over the summer. There are like roughly an estimated 80,000 refugees in Sudan, 4 different refugee camps. I have visited those refugee camps. I have spoken to multiple people who actually saw people getting killed with a machete. At least a bullet, those who took a bullet to their head, they died quicker. But they literally, kids, 5, 6, 7-year-old kids told me what they witnessed. It's heartbreaking. So whether we have an investigation or not is a different story. But what is, what as Tigrayans, what is our option really besides continuing the fight, the advocacy work that we do? And I think it's, you didn't show up in DC. I was criticizing you earlier, obviously. There are people genuinely just like, I know you were busy for something else, you had an emergency, but in all genuine seriousness, that many like Tigrayans are feeling like just America and the West is not wanting to do anything for Tigray. Therefore, they feel like hopeless and helpless. So how do we get the momentum going? How do we make sure that our people are not discouraged and just not showing up, which is the worst thing that can happen in this critical time?
Yeah, first mention to talk a little bit about the Mai Kadra case. The Amharas and through the one of the commission, I think his name was the guy he got nominated for by the Germans, the Ethiopian Human Rights Commission.
Bakala,
yeah. Those guys, behaviorally or inherently, they are pro the government. And the Amhara expansionists who killed Tagaru in Mai Kadra, they have been shedding a crocodile tear for a long time. And the Western world, somehow they both, or they incline to support what has been what has been tried by the Amhara elites and the people who have been killing our brothers, and they were shedding these crocodile tears. So they inclined towards their lies now, and they are clever at it. Somehow they deceive the Western world. The case of Mai Kadra. To come to your point, am I in line? I don't see you guys. Yeah, okay. To come to your point, Mike, you're right. The investigation might help for sure, but it's not because they don't know. They are denying what happened in Mai Kadra. They know it. Simple example. The western part of Tigray now was fully under the control of the Amhara and the Eritreans. We are seeing dead bodies in the Kadra River. And the dead bodies are Tagarus. We have seen a guy being handicapped with a rope, beaten down, killed, thrown to the Kadra River, and found down the stream. We have a lot of reports. The storage facilities are now detention facilities. Not in hundreds, in thousands of Tagarus, they are being detained in Humora, in the areas around Humora. Who is doing that? So people keep on hanging on Mai Kadra, okay? Because cleverly, they have been shedding a crocodile tears. They have received the Western world, the case of Mai Kadra. Okay, let's put it as is, because we're gonna come back to that point. But actually now what is happening, who's gonna be responsible for all those killings and beatings and putting all the Taru in a concentration camp in the Western Tigray? I'm not talking about Addis Ababa. Amharas and the Eritreans. Therefore, what evidence do they need? Actually, in actual terms, they are doing it right now while we speak. So the only thing the Western world doing is they are trying to save this despotic government of Ethiopia. They don't want to call it genocide, number one. They don't want to tell the Ethiopian government what they have been doing is a criminal activity. They don't want to tell it, because if this government, which was brought by them to power, fails, it's going to be a shame to them too. They gave him a Nobel Prize. It's a shame for them, because we are proving them wrong. So they don't want to feel ashamed. So they are trying to cover up all the crimes. So the answer to you, Mike, is we don't have to give up on this struggle. We have to push on. Whether it's investigation, whether it's demonstration, whether talking to the representatives and the politicians in DT or in Europe, we have to keep on exposing everything. But it's not because they are going to give us justice. The justice will come by our effort. TDF has to do it. We are going to push it. Keep on telling us to stop the war. At the same time, our people are not saved by their efforts. We are having a lot of victims in Addis Ababa now. People are being arbitrarily arrested. Where is the Western world? Okay, they tell us to stop the war. Okay, we can stop. They tell you to get out of northern Amhara. But still, people are being killed. So to sum it up, I'm going to quote Mr. Rashid's Twitter. I'm going to read it word by word. So do the world understand it. Mr. Rashid said, apportioning blame equally, under quotation, sounds like a high-minded principle, but it is not. Tigray was criminal war waged by the genocidal elites of Ethiopia and Eritrea. The Garu suffered in millions. We're not talking about hundreds or thousands, in millions, directly or indirectly, by the war waged by the Eritrean and Ethiopians. And Tagaru waged a war to reverse a genocidal war. And we have to give a credit to TDF. Putting TDF at the scale of Fano is a gross mistake. Okay? So simply is telling them the Western, they are trying to make the Fanos, or they are bringing the Fanos at the equal standard of the TDF, just to look as if they have a high-minded principle. Therefore, yes, we don't expect anything from them, but we're not going to give up the struggle and the fight. We're going to prove them they are wrong. We're going to go all the way through Addis Ababa. We're going to make sure all the criminals will be under our control and justice will be served. This is for sure.
And
don't tell us to stop the war.
If I may, I think it is important to stress about the lies of this regime. As you know, for months at the start of the conflict, Abiy denied that the civilians were being harmed or that the soldiers from Eritrea had joined the fight. I mean, this is a government that lies always. But thanks for the reports from the International Observer, human rights groups, and CNN proved both of those claims were wrong. And as we know, thousands of people have died, and many estimate with reports of gassed campus looting, sexual victims, massacre, extrajudicial killing. Many more have fled to Sudan, which some of them have testified in what the United Nations has called the worst exodus of refugees from Ethiopia in many decades. They describe that as a disastrous conflict that given rise to the ethnic violence that has been perpetuated by this fascist regime. As you know, if they have really the audacity, they could have opened the press. But the Ethiopian regime has severely restricted access to journalists, and as the state enforced communication block out, concealed many of the facts and events in that region, making it challenging to gauge the extent of the crisis or verify the survivors of this account. So this is a very deliberate, well-planned action that has been taken. When you are preventing, journalists and witnesses, you are doing it in a very dark way. And thanks, I will give credit to CNN. Investigation.
But to refocus my point, we have to thank whoever is doing good. We have to thank them for sure. But to refocus my point, a lot of people, they want to bring us back to Mai Kadra. Okay. I will plainly ask you a question. Who chased out 110,000 people from the Amhara region before the war? Before this genocidal war, 100,000, 110,000 people were chased out from Gondar, from the northwestern part of Gondar, and everybody was fled back to Sudan. They came back to Tigray by the help of the Sudanese. This happened 4 years ago. Who was killing Tagaru in Amhara region? There were Tagaru were being burned by fire while they were sleeping in their shop by night. Who did it? Farmers. So how do you put the farmers with the level of the Tagaru discipline, the discipline of the Tigray? So somehow the Western, okay, we don't want, I don't want to make them angry and tell them that. But where is the Western morality? What is the justice? Is it because they don't know the facts? No, they know it. Tagaro have been attacked all the way. Go back 4 or 5 years. Tagaro were patient. On the other side, we have a lot of Amhara or Amharian speaking people inside of Tigray. Nobody touched them, even now. Even now. We have captives now. The POWs, the POs, in thousands. Nobody's touching them. So everybody knows how disciplined Tagaros are. And we have to. And it's our culture. But we resist, we defend ourselves. How come the Western world will try to put us to the level of this backward, not only backward, deceiving, psychopathic killers? They are criminals. So simply because they feel ashamed, they brought this idiot person to power, they crowned him, they regret it inside, but they want gamble on the life of the girl. Please don't do it.
So the Mai Kadra is what we're talking about, but take a look what's happening continuously as we speak throughout the country in Addis Ababa and other part of Ethiopia, the former state of Ethiopia.
Ethiopian authorities have rounded up high-profile Tigrayans, from a bank CEO to priests, as well as United Nations staff, in a mass crackdown on suspected supporters of rebellious northern forces, people linked to the detainees told Reuters. Police denied targeting the Tigrayan ethnic group, saying those arrested were believed to have links to the Tigray People's Liberation Front, or TPLF, which has fought the central government for a year. Ethiopia declared a state of emergency last week that permits the government to arbitrarily arrest, without a court order, anyone suspected of collaborating with a terrorist group. Parliament designated the TPLF as a terrorist group earlier this year. The state of emergency also requires citizens to carry ID cards that can indicate ethnic origin. The war has killed thousands, forced more than 2 million people from their homes, sucked in troops from neighboring Eritrea, and left hundreds of thousands in famine. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken on Wednesday said he believes all sides see the dangers of perpetuating the conflict, and warned that there is no military resolution to the differences between the parties.
There is an opportunity, I hope, for everyone to pull back, to sit down, to get a halt to what's happening on the ground, and ultimately to produce a ceasefire, to have access for humanitarian assistance, and over time to negotiate a more durable political resolution.
These are United Nations staff members.
The United Nations said on Tuesday at least 16 Ethiopian staff and dependents were detained, but has not specified their ethnicity. On Wednesday, it said 9 were still in custody. The Ethiopian Human Rights Commission said the arrests of Tigrayans were at least in the hundreds, including elderly people and mothers with children.
So, again, we talked about Mai Kadra. It's actually happening even to UN staffers. That shows you Isaias Afwerki of Eritrea is telling Abiy Ahmed, no matter what happens, you can do whatever you want. The U.S., the UN is not going to do anything.
Anything, and toothless, yeah. True.
I think the question, Mike, with due respect for both of you, it is not what they think that's important for us. But the question is, what can we do in terms of how we get recognition of the Tigray genocide and how the perpetrators are held account? I think that's the question that we should ask.
Well, a simple answer to that question. The Western world is not going to call the war happened to Tigray or the atrocity genocide. They are not going to say it. Michelle Bachelet, she is a high official for the United Nations. Michelle Bachelet, he said genocide didn't happen in Tigray. I don't expect it, but we proved them. We're going to keep on fighting. We prove them wrong. Genocide has already occurred and happened. And the criminals are the Eritreans and the Ethiopians. We keep on struggling. We bring these genociders to the ground. We defeat them. And then we sentence them. They are genociders. This is it. So I'm not saying that the Western world shouldn't help us. I'm not saying that. We have to keep on telling them what happened. We have to bring all the facts and show them. We have to do that. But we don't expect any justice from them. The justice will be served by us. That's the point I'm trying to.
The problem that I have is we are focusing much on the Western world, their concern. But Tigray Defense Forces, they didn't care about their concern. They just keep fighting and fighting. Yeah. And that's where they are. They make us proud with their achievement. However, let's focus on the diaspora politics.
Okay.
Do you think by protesting on the street, by social media campaign, can we really make those people accountable and also a recognition of the Tigray genocide? I believe we can do more. You see, the Congress and the Senate are the soul of this nation to decide what it should be or what ought to be in terms of foreign policy to the State Department. Are we doing enough reaching out to the senators and Congress?
Of course we have.
Of course. That's what I'm going to take exception Oregon State, because
no, we have Mr. Burka, we have 99 out of 100 senators pass resolution. They understand, this is not a politic. This is a humanitarian crisis. America knows, Europe knows. The problem is they don't want to take action. They don't want to declare genocide because the day they call it genocide, then they become partly responsible to rebuild Tigray, to save Tigray.
I disagree, Mike. I disagree on this. I think, I can tell from our constituency. I know you guys have done, both senators and Congress. I challenge you, if every state follows the same step as you do, it's not what is important, really. Yes, they pass the resolution in terms of that, but there is what you call constituency. The constituency has to regroup itself by state, each state, and try to push hard to the senators and Congress people.
I don't disagree there. I'm with you on that.
I'm going to jump in here, guys. I'll jump in. Okay. But when we bring the issue to the diaspora politics, yes, we have to do more. I agree 100% on that. When we do more, it's not because we expect justice from the Western world or from the Americans. Because we're going to do more. We're going to prove them wrong. They didn't say. At the end of the day, when we bring this criminal to justice, they will say, yes, you are right. Genocide has occurred. They will say that for sure. That's for sure. And we have to keep on doing. But we are going to do it over and over and over. We're going to gather all the information, all the data, and present them, not because we expect justice from them, but to make them, but to prove them they were wrong. This is the point I was trying to make. But for sure, you're saying what you're saying, you're absolutely right. We have to do more, 100%.
Right, but
we have to be punctual, 100%.
Here's a problem.
Because they would give us justice. Because
here's a problem.
Yeah.
Here's a problem. I'm with you, Ato Barakat. I don't disagree with you that we're not, some states don't have enough Tagaro to represent and to stand up. I'm with you on that. Where I'm having a problem with our Tagaro, with us, is the issue is we are too soft as Tigrayans. We are not, responding aggressively and strongly against the enemy. So what I'm showing on my screen, I want to read it to you guys. Okay. So this is called the Mereja Form, Ethiopian News and Opinion. Okay. This member joined Mereja News and Opinion on April 18, 2018. On November 6, which is 4 days ago, this is what he posted. Officials in Amhara region are debating on whether to put those agame roaches in intermittent camps, or I am baffled by their stupidity. Do these officials know the cost of feeding and hosting hundreds of thousands of roaches? We don't have the time to guard and feed worthless agames. Agame is like a region in Tigray, but they're categorizing as Tigrayans. They think it's an insult. Nor do we have the resources to house them in camps. My solution is very simple, and I have always advocated for it. So listen up. Just shoot the darn bastards and get over with it. Ask yourself this. One, how many birr, which is Ethiopian currency, does one round of 7.62, which is the equivalent of an AK-47, less than 10 birr, killing 100,000, it would cost 1 million agames, Tigrayans, that is, isn't actually that expensive. And let's just say, at best, it takes two a shot to the skull. Number two, eliminating them ends all the threats once for all. Here's the solution, Amhara officials. He puts the bullet sample. Then you have, this message is for Amhara regional president. It's time to man up and get the job done instead of debating nonsense. Remember, the easiest solution is the best solution. And the easiest solution is to put those worthless roaches down. Step on the agame, which is the Tigrayans roach. Don't be afraid. Just step on them. And then 3 laughters, and then someone, stomping on roaches. So Tigrayans, you and I, and the rest of us, we have people allowing this sort of hate speech on a platform that they've been at it from day one, including a couple of days ago, another person was talking that if he was in Ethiopia, he would actually burn the Tigrayans down, including the U.S. Embassy.
This has to be reported to FBI. This is no joke. This is a hate. And a hate crime is illegal. It's in the United States. We have the responsibility to report to FBI and shut the Mereja website. That's what it is. This is really something that we should take it seriously.
And they're allowing this post to go on, and it's there for 4 days later. And somebody shared this with me, but it's still there.
Yeah, well, you remember? I'm gonna try to show you the hypocrisy of the Western world, even Facebook itself. Not on Twitter, most of the time on Facebook. You remember that little girl who was debating with the despotic Ethiopian soldiers? And I took that picture. Look, here is what I wrote. Look, 10 years old girl trying to educate stupid Ethiopian soldiers. This is what I wrote. Immediately Facebook restricted my post for saying stupid Ethiopian soldier. Of course, they are stupid. What name should
you have
so
you have
they suspended my account for 30 days. On the same week, the Amhara regional leader, he was calling the Amharas to kill Tagarus. By killing Tagarus, that's the only solution, and make them kneel down under our feet. That's what he said, word by word. If you translate Amharic to English, his post, I bet you it will be there up to now. Nobody cared about it. So simple reason, the simple answer to that. We know there was a lady who works in Facebook. We reported Facebook. This is what happened. Okay, you restrict my account. Okay, I can change. I can stop saying stupid Ethiopians. I can say stupid soldiers. It's simple. I can correct myself. That's not a problem. But there are people who are doing this. The biased employees of yours is doing all, and the answer they gave me was, it's simply a robot who is handling all the job, not actual people. All right. So the system has been fed by whom? Anybody who said Ethiopia got restricted, the other people who have been spreading hate speech on Tagaru, including the word Agame, kill the Agamas, never been put on the system. So it didn't get restricted. So who is not doing his job right? Facebook. Not us. We're telling them, we're reporting it. All the hate speech.
But this is beyond hate speech. This is like a crime. This is actually.
Yeah, I'm just trying. I'm trying.
Right. No, I understand. But here's the thing. So this is clearly.
Yeah, the worst level is the crime. The crime you brought, that's the worst level. But still, I'm just trying. What I'm trying to say is, it is not because they don't know. They know it. We're reporting it day and night. Barakat brought, we have to report to the FBI. We do. We report a lot of things. No action, trust me. But I don't mean we have to stop. We have to keep on doing it. We have to keep on proving them wrong. That I believe, and you were right. But
so here's another post by the same website, Maraja.com.
Maraja, Ethiopian DJ, Maraja, all of them. Go ahead.
It's posted by a person named Tariq and his senior member of the website. Okay. Fact. If I was an Ethiopian living in Addis, I would have burned the terrorist TPLF live USA embassy down. Way good. So this is a direct threat to the Tigrayans and the U.S. embassy in Addis Ababa. And then a member responds to that saying, I think you should be referred to FBI and CIA if you have a such terrorist tendencies to attack USA. It is a serious threat that should be dealt by the U.S. Anti-Terrorism Task Force. All participants of this discussion forum who happen to see this post should inform law enforcement agent near you. See something, say something. And then, of course, he continues to respond. So I guess, once again, they get reported, and somehow the CIA, the FBI, law enforcement in the United States, they're not taking it serious. But it's a serious threat. It's a serious crime. And this website is still operating.
But we are not doing enough. That's what I'm trying to say. I mean, how many times we report such kind of incident? Is there any? I think we are missing so many variables in this discussion. One, do we have a center as Tigrayans in Europe or in the United States to report hate crime related incidents? We have to have data. You know, without data, you cannot explain things in our social environment. Data is everything to explain. So what we should do is, using this platform, we will encourage the Tigrayans throughout diaspora to report hate-related incident like you have shown us to one group. I don't care whether it's going to be Cyber Power of Tigray or Tigray Online or Tigray Global Advocacy Group, but we have to encourage them to report in one area so that we can have the ability to follow up what is going on around us. Now we are working in silos. There is silos among us everywhere. We don't know what certain groups do or report. And that makes it very difficult, Mike and Imna. So, I mean, if a lesson has to be taken out of this discussion, we should have a forum that will report hate incidents, or a website that tracks. So we don't have those tools. It's almost 1 year, and we are talking about process. So let's begin.
Yeah, on the last point, Baraka's point, I 100% agree. We need to have a center. We have to report all the hate crimes for sure, and we have to do more. That's I agree 100%. We can list, at least, for example, I can list Ethiopian DJ. I think it's a website. At the same time, he has an account in YouTube, in Facebook. All his posters are, hey, that's it, against the government. I can mention the Habasha. He has a YouTube, and we can list all of them. But 100% I agree. We need to have a centralized data to address this problem. This for sure. So I second you. That's what I want to say.
So before we end our English and shift into Tigrayan, the continuous mass arrest is taking place in Addis Ababa, and they are saying that those they are arresting are somehow supporting TDF or TPLF. The problem they have there is many of these people, first of all, are women, priests, old people, and the young people who actually also are detained. Some of them don't even speak Tigrayan. They're just simply ethnic Tigrayans. So why is it that the very country, Ethiopia, that the people of Tigray, who sacrificed, former state of Ethiopia, thank you, who sacrificed for this country, is actually brought a foe, an enemy from Eritrea to run the security apparatus in Addis Ababa. And those troops from, whether it be from the federal Biltzegana party or the regional force of Amhara and the Fana, when they're captured, they're saying, oh, I did not know, or I was forced. It seems they're consistently are now saying the exact same thing. So until they're caught, they're doing whatever. I mean, are we really paying attention to what's happening? Are we awake? Are we even sober to understand these people, their hate is built within them, that no matter what we say, what we do, we can't change them. We can't teach them. You know, there's a saying in America, you cannot teach an old dog a new trick because a dog is too old, which what Abiy Ahmed is, what Isaias Afwerki is, what this culture, the so-called Amhara militia, the Amhara elite, the Fana, their mindset is hate towards Tigrayans.
Yeah.
They don't even know me. They don't even know you, but they just hate you the moment they know that you are Tigrayan origin.
Well, Mike, I mean, if you see it morally, yes, For an ordinary person, it sounds like that. But mind you, this is a campaign, a propaganda campaign that lasted 25 years against Tagaro. You know, it's like the chicken come to roost. How many of us are opening our eyes because the atrocity already began. It was too late. We were not able, you know, to do everything in our power to stop the head. You know, like those Habesha, Maraja, and all those things that you have mentioned. They've been working continuously 24 hours to suppress truth and disseminate false information against the very people who founded this nation called Ethiopia. So I think what we have to do is now, you know, to go after them aggressively and shut them down, and also stop the genocidal campaign by exposing the lies of this fascist, narcissist regime with his stooges. Look, this has been infused to the public, as I said, for many years. And there is denial what is taking place, even though they see their neighbors because their Tigrayans are being taken to unknown places, prison, torture, and some of them being killed. And this is not only a problem for observers, you know, as a people. The Addis Ababians have to rise, you know, to stop this kind of madness. They should say no. But as I said, they are cooperatively, they are so glad, you know, to join in a desperate the policy of extermination of their neighbors. And this happened in history in many parts of the world. In Rwanda, they were neighbors against neighbors, you know. So this is not going to be exception. So what we have to do is still, we have to aggressively campaign and expose the real problems, what is taking place in Tigray, in Addis Ababa, I mean, and in other parts of Ethiopian state. This genocidal regime is trying to take away with him as much pain to inflict Tagaro because he has done so much damage in humanity. He is going to be accountable for it with his stooges and stupid generals.
Which is why we need to strengthen in the force of TDF, because that's the only solution we have. So I'm going to show you guys this clip. This was on Tigray television, and then Bundy.com also copied it. So just for the record. So you know, the heroism of Tigrayans. It's no joke. They came from Eritrea. They came throughout Ethiopia, Somalia. They brought Arabs with them from United Arab Emirates. They brought every weapon they can think of. Every weapon they can think of to destroy Tigray and to kill Tigrayans. I was watching Tigray TV earlier, and this elderly folks, they were talking how 10 to 20 people stood against the Eritrean army at a mountain. I mean, just think about it. The whole day and night they withheld, and they literally destroy them.
Forum.
Forum.
Yeah, a town called Forum. I believe it is in Adwa district, in my understanding. And I watched that.
25 kilometers from Adwa.
Yeah. So I watched that, and I was amazed by it. So the lesson that, you know, this stupid PP officials could not understand, especially the prime minister, who has been almost for a couple of years in Tigray. I think he was there physically, but I don't think so. He was there mentally. I mean, if it was mentally, he would have known that the Tigrayan people will never surrender to any enemy in their own history. And this is not going to be exception as well. So yes, you know, with with Kalashnikov and with bombs, they were able to, you know, inflict so much damages on enemies. And I watched. You cannot run against the people. That's the thought. That is the wisdom. You know, you cannot. Especially when you are committing such kind of heinous genocidal and atrocity, not to mention the loot and the rape and killing priests and stealing all, you know, cultural icons that we are proud of it.
Yeah, I was reading on Twitter yesterday. I hope you know who Haggai Eldridge is, a Jewish historian. He expressed it in simple words. He said Tagaru has been defending, and they were the champions on the creation of Ethiopia. And he said, if I were the advisor of Abiy Ahmed, the despotic fascist Abiy Ahmed, a con artist at the same time, he said, if I were the advisor, I could have told him, don't touch Tagaru.
I saw that.
Yeah, the same word was used by the Afar leader, I think 4 years ago. Any government who went against Tagaru always fails. One of his, I think, one of his religious mentor or Dr. Zemedenes or something, I don't remember his name exactly. He told him, actually, if you have the ambition to be a king, you better go to Tigray and get the blessing of Tagaru. If not, you're not going to make it. But this stupid leader, fascist, egoist, psychopath, he never listened to nobody. The only time he's going to listen is when get captured and asked. That's when he can realize what he have done. Until that time, he's going to deny everything. He's going to push it. So, on the other hand, the Western still, naturally, we don't brag. We don't brag. With the history, we are just part. We have to get out of that mentality. We have to tell the world who we are, what we have done. What I mean is, whatever history we have to write it. We have to make the world know what we have done. That's where we fail. But even though we didn't do anything about our history, other people are talking about Tagar. So guys like Haggai Eldridge, a Jewish historian, in simple words, you have said it. And the world need to listen to people like Haggai Eldridge. So,
all right, guys. So we have another show coming up in Tigrayan. So unfortunately, I have to end it here.
Let me say, Mike, just to get out of my shoulder, the atrocities that is being committed in Addis Ababa and other parts of Ethiopia should be exposed on social media to the world. It is getting worse by day. So, fellow Tigrayan, let's do our job diligently, effectively. Let's be aggressive because the government of this dying regime is aggressively pursuing innocent Tigrayans to concentration camp and to torture chambers and at times killing or not known their whereabouts. So I will urge we have to expose this kind of atrocity to the world. I think as a diaspora here, our campaign has been very fruitful up to this point. But with the recent victory of TDF, we are slowing down, but the slaughter of our people continue to be mounting day by day. So I urge you, fellow Tagaru in diaspora, to expose the atrocities that is taking place in Ethiopia against Tagaru. Thank you.
Thank you, Atabarka. Thank you, Tagarla Ibn Haris. So you guys give us about 5 minutes or less, hopefully. We're going to end this broadcasting and we're going to come right back to you in Tigrayan.
Don't give up, yeah.
ያው በትግርኛ ክንመለሰኩም ኢና ሒዚ እዚያ ፕሮግራምና ክንጨርሻ ኢና ድሕሪኡ በትግርኛ ክንኣትዩና